Hello guys, welcome. We are outside for today's video. It is a beautiful day out here and I felt like filming outside and chopping some moss poles. I have 3 that I want to try and get done today. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get them all done because I feel like they're gonna be a bit of a project. So I'm gonna try and get through at least a couple of them. They're poles that I've been meaning to take care of and chop, and I've been sort of neglecting, so they aren't the happiest of moss poles. My name is Melissa. If you're just joining me here, welcome. And let's get started with our first pole behind me. I'll try and give you different angles throughout the video, but I want to start with my neon pothos. This one was started actually the same time as my marble queen, and it hasn't grown very much at all. And I feel like partially it's because I've neglected it. I feel like I hardly ever water this pole. It's not even in my plant room anymore. I'm gonna switch it to a clear pole just to help kind of retain a bit of moisture and maybe somewhat give it a boost in growth. I don't know actually when I fertilized it last too, so that could be another issue. So I'm gonna replant it onto a different pole and change the substrate. I do have all of my supplies here beside me. I brought out my cart that has everything that I need. And I have my moss pole mix here that we're going to be using in this little tub here. And I have water. I feel like it's a little bit attached in here because I can see some aerial roots on the bottom that are just completely dried right here that are somewhat going through the moss. Like here's one here, but I haven't kept this pole moist at all, so. Oh no, is someone doing construction? It was just so quiet out here. I hope that's not loud. I would be really sad if it's noisy today. I feel like I'm gonna have to probably take moss out of here from like here down, but I'm gonna reuse it and then I'm gonna try and save this pole for another extension that I have to do. I'll just like add some fresh moss in here because this moss has been in here. So I started my marble queen on a pole in January of 2022, and this one was started at the exact same time, and my marble queen is like huge now, and this is all that this one has done. So there's clearly something wrong with this. I don't know if it's just maybe I forgot to fertilize it and it's just dry. Maybe there's just like dry roots in here. I don't know, but we're gonna investigate that. And if it's just not healthy, maybe I'll just take it off, but we'll see. I think I want to use, just because it is an epipremnum, if it does do well, I feel like I do want a little bit support. I feel like the small pole, the 3, might be a little too small, but actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I'll try it. Because I'm running out of the medium-sized thickly poles, so I might just try a small on this one and see how it goes. I'm probably going to need to do 3 layers, so 3 of them. I might change my mind and do the medium, but I'm going to give you guys a different little view of me doing this. And yeah, hopefully it's not too bad. It's going to be a messy project out here. We're just going to uncover her and see what we're working with. I imagine if there's any kind of root loss, it's probably just going to be from dry rot. I mean, for the most part, the roots do look okay. I have a little bit of dry roots. I really think this plant just didn't really get a chance to climb that well. Yeah, like this one, this node isn't even attached at all. That will be easy to add to a new pole. And I feel like if there is any in here, in the moss, they've definitely dried up. So the rest of these are somewhat attached in here. So what I'm gonna do is undo the clips here. I'm really gonna try and refrain from making a huge mess today. I'll just add some fresh moss to it to build my new pole. Again, I probably should have watered this pole first because moss on dry roots is not good. All right, so here's another piece. It was like starting to attach in, but I feel like it would have done a better job if I kept it hydrated. Okay, you could see this one was really attaching in there. You can see all those extra aerial roots. Again, they're just dry. So it looks like we have 4 cuttings. And this is our last and final one. So this is what we are working with. With our moss, I'm gonna add a little bit of fresh in here to revive it a bit. And I use this brand of moss. I just get this locally. Sometimes it's a little stringy, which is kind of annoying, but I end up just kind of breaking it apart and taking out some of the stringy bits if it has a lot of that stuff in it. I think what I might do is add a couple drops of Superthrive in here. That way the roots can get a little extra nutrients in the moss. The ones that were like here, because they were so dry. You know, I think I'm gonna try Thiccly's new pole. I forgot that they sent this to me. I don't know when this one is coming out, and I'm not really sure if I know how to use this one. There's not like any information on this packaging. But I think I might try this pole for the neon. It's like their 3.0 pole. So it should be similar, except I believe, so the flaps look completely different. And there's soil flaps here, like how the old one is on the bottom. And I believe this one connects in the front. I don't even know how to use this. Right. I'm gonna fold at the creases and just see how this works. I don't know if I like this one. I think I'm getting the hang of it. But I'm gonna have to add my plant in here first. So the design, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that well because it's clear. So these little flaps here connect into the little hole slots. It's really hard to see. So it basically opens from the front. It's a little bit tedious though, I feel like, getting the little thing in there to close, and then they open from the front. So So basically the back is completely covered. I don't know if I like this kind. I like their old version. And then to undo the flaps, yeah, that's basically all that it is. So what I'm gonna do is, I guess I'm gonna have to add my moss and cuttings in here first, and then close this around the cuttings. I don't know, I'm gonna have to play with this for a little bit and just see how this is gonna work, and then I'll show you kind of once I figure it out a little bit more. Okay, I went ahead and closed it and filled with moss. So this one you have to add the moss in after you make it. Normally I add the moss in first, then close it, but there's not really a way to add the moss in and close all these front flaps. You can kind of see it a bit more. So each little flap connects into the hole, and so they just open from the front, which I don't know if I'm not really understanding the concept. I would say it's about the same size as their medium. You know, like you have the soil flaps here on the bottom, you fill this with soil, and then you extend on top like you would normally. The only difference is these open from the front. But even when you have your cuttings going in the middle of it, I guess I'm not understanding when you open this, you're opening, like I don't understand the purpose of the front flaps. Because when you have your cuttings in the front like this, like you would normally, like they're growing roots inside, and then when you open this up, the vine's going to be in the way, so you can't even open it up, right? Just because these don't go on the inside of the soil flaps, because they don't, there's not any room, because when they grow, they're not growing inside, they're growing on the outside. So even if you try to open this up from the front, how is it going to open when the vines are across it and the roots are inside? I don't know. We're going to test it and see how it goes. So I have this made. I'm probably going to have to go ahead and extend it because the tallest vine would probably be beyond this. So I'll have to do another one, but I just wanted to get one started. So again, like with the roots that I already have, will be at the soil level. So I'm basically going to anchor my nodes here against the moss, and then, you know, hopefully they attach in. Again, I'm not understanding the front concept at all. I don't know. It's just not making any sense to me. So I'm gonna use, and there's not really anywhere to hook clips to it either. Am I supposed to close the flap on the vine as it climbs? Is that the concept? Is that why there's a hole in the middle for the vine? So if we do that, if we attach it on the inside as it climbs, I guess that makes sense. I guess the idea is the flaps are supposed to be over the vine, but then you're having to undo these multiple times. Because I guess that's why those are slit in the center there, so the vine, but I want multiple vines, not just one vine. And they're not that easy to undo. All right, so I guess what I'm gonna do here, I'm not liking this. Okay, so I have the 3 flaps open on the bottom. I'm gonna add all my vines in, and then I guess close this around the vine as I work my way up. I'll give you guys a different angle here. Okay, so we have one vine, in the middle of the 3 flaps here. So we're going to take our next vine. And I'll have to undo the top ones too. I guess the concept is to keep the vine closer to the moss, and it opens from the front. So if you ever want to take it out, I guess it makes it a little easier. So I'm just sliding them all on the inside of the flaps. This is my tallest one. And of course, this is only really gonna work, like obviously you need to use this pole for like cutting smaller plants that haven't grown up like this as much. I feel like it's gonna be easier. It just took me a minute to get the concept, I feel like. So I have all the roots at the bottom here. I'm gonna go ahead and close this bottom flap back. Close this middle flap back here. Oh my gosh, this is so much extra work. Okay, now I have to open back. But do you see what I mean? They're like on the inside of the flap. They're all on the inside, so you're closing the flap around the vine. I just feel like it's kind of redundant because I feel like I had to add the moss first for there to be even enough moss in here, and then you're having to like undo the clips around the vines, which is creating more work. Moss pulls as it is very like time consuming and can be a lot of work. And I feel like all the vines are getting squished in the center too because there's only one center flap for the vine. I feel like these poles are not meant for a lot of vines to fit in here, is kind of what it's looking like. It's just creating more work. I mean, I'm glad I tried these front open ones, but yeah, I will not be using these anymore. I'm just not liking them. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll end up liking them. I just feel like it's a lot of work. All right, I'm gonna continue to do this all the way up. I'm just like undoing each one and adding the vine in the front and closing the flaps around the vines. I'm gonna do this all the way up, and then I'll have to do an extension too onto this one, and then I will be back on here in a little bit. Okay, I'm back on real quick. I haven't extended it, so I'm gonna pot this up first before these roots like really start to dry out and get angry. But the top vine is above the pole, so you know I will have to add an extension. So my only thing is like I'm understanding the concept, but then like if you have multiple vines in here, they grow at different rates. So are you gonna have to like untuck and tuck over the vine? Like eventually the vine's gonna grow on top of this, so you won't be able to open it. Because unless you're like paying attention to the rate that each vine is growing and like opening each one and then closing it back over top of the vine, I feel like they're just going to continue to grow on the outside. But I'm going to do it for this one and let this one grow up. I feel like the extra moisture will help this one grow. At least that's what I'm thinking. So, yeah, I don't know. It just seems really kind of confusing. and a lot more work. Like this pole has taken me probably, I've been probably doing this for 45 minutes at least. If it takes that much work to do one, you're not gonna want to be encouraged to do poles if it's gonna take like that long and that much work. So I'm gonna bend you down so we can pot this up, and then I will make the new extension and add that on real quick, and then we will have our new neon on a pole. For the pot, I'm gonna go ahead and, I'm just gonna use the same pot it was in. It's not too dirty and I don't really feel like washing it. I'm gonna add a little bit of mix inside the pole like normal. All right, and then we are going to pull out this down in the middle. And then we have our soil flaps that I'm pushing down. We're gonna add some Osmocote. I feel like there wasn't any fertilizer in that old mix. Maybe I forgot to add fertilizer. Maybe that's why she wasn't growing. Like no nutrients. You're gonna backfill. All right, I'm backing you out to give you the view of the pole. So I have it in the pot. And I went ahead and just added the extension on. It extends the same way. It goes on the inside and you push in the extender flaps into the soil flaps. I didn't really go into detail here because I've done it. I feel like I've done it plenty of times, you know, when I go to do these. My hands are a little torn up from trying to close these little pieces, and my final thoughts is I don't like these. I feel like I love their poles, but I'm not a fan of this new design. It's just too much work. I'm already like frustrated. I already wanted to like give up, and I need something like easy. I need something that's not gonna be a hassle and want me to like get annoyed with this and all these little flaps closing and opening. And I like to add my moss in first. I feel like trying to like stuff them down and poke them in here, it's just too much work. It's a pretty pole, and if you like the open front design, you know, you can definitely try it. But for me, it's definitely not my favorite. I'm gonna stick to the ones that I've been using. I just find them so much easier. Whoopsie, my battery died. But what I was saying is, yeah, it's just too much of a hassle for me. I honestly, I feel like I'd rather do my wire poles than these ones. There's just too many clicks and inserts. They kept coming undone. I felt like I was cutting my hands trying to stuff the moss down in there. And yeah, again, so I will be sticking with using the other ones. And I feel like if you like the open front design and you like it and you want to try it, then by all means. To me, I just feel like it was too much work and it made me frustrated. So, and I don't want to feel that way because poles sometimes are a lot of work and you don't want something more complicated and harder to do. So, I mean, it's a pretty pole. It's pretty. It's just not for me. So I'm gonna kind of get this cleaned up here, and then I think since this one took me a lot longer than I had anticipated, I wasn't planning on doing this one on that new one. I think I'll only do one more for today because I feel like, again, that one's gonna be another like project. So I will get that one out, and I'll save, really wanted to do my 9-foot pole, but I'm gonna save that for a different day. That's probably gonna be a headache. So I'm gonna get my other one I've been meaning to do, and we will just do that one and then end this video. Hi, pretty babies. Hi. Hi, cutie. Yeah.
He's so cute. Yeah. Ow. Don't get me. Ow. Ow. He's so cute. He's so cute.
The next project is this very sad camposportoanum, my philodendron. I don't know what to do with this plant, you guys. I don't like it. It's just one long vine on this big wire pole. You can see it has really extremely long petioles. I moved this one out of my plant room, and ever since I did that, I've kind of stopped watering the pole. And I have a lot of cuttings on the bottom of the pole that you can see that are still kind of small. You can see kind of where I took it out of my plant room. It was doing like some large leaves, and then I've kind of neglected it. It's gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. I really liked it at one point. It's a philo that you know, I thought was really cool initially and I was excited for, but I don't know, it's just one of these plants I don't really care for anymore. I'm gonna think about it for a minute. I ended up chopping my philodendron here in half. This is what I normally do when I chop my poles. I chop where I had previously extended it. And I'm doing the same thing here that I did with my philodendron Micans moss pole recently. So I will link that video up here for you. I didn't want this to be long and drawn out, and then someone came to mow the neighbor's yard and it just got really loud out here. So I'm like, I'm just gonna kind of skip through this part. So basically, this bottom section here, you see me kind of hydrating the moss some. I have to remove some of the moss because I'm adding those cuttings that I took from the top section. I'm going to be feeding like this piece here. I'm feeding it through the front part of the pole. I'll take the roots and feed it through a little square and pull it through. And I do that for every root that has grown. And I think I ended up doing maybe 2 or 3 cuttings from the top section. I just took my time feeding each of the nodes through, and I'm securing them with orchid clips or just any kind of clip I have to clip onto the wire because the roots don't have anything like attaching into anything yet. So if I were to stand it up, they would just fall pretty much out. So it's easier to secure the vine to the actual wire with the clips until they kind of re-establish and reattach. And since I had to take moss out, I'm just adding the moss back into the pole. I added some fresh just because I thought the bottom section, the moss was kind of old, so I just wanted to make sure I could hydrate the entire pole when I go to water it. And then I'm just closing it back up here with zip ties. And that's what she's looking like. And then I'm just repotting her bottom half, adding my fertilizer back in, and that's it for this one. All right, I wanted to give you a look at the new poles in their spot. I think it looks so much better. So the neon is there, and the pole is very beautiful. I think it's going to grow much better being on that than the wire one. I feel like I'm going to be much better about keeping it moist. And that one looks so much better chopped. It's like, it's so much shorter. And then once it decides to reroute new growth, I will extend it, but I think it's okay to stay like that for now. But it looks better. And I hosed it off. I sprayed it with my Castile soap in case there were any spider mites. I just got through sneezing again, so. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Whenever I do polls, I always feel like it's chaotic and messy, but the end result is worth it. I feel like I'm very happy once I get to the end and the poll is done. And I love the look of it better. I'm so much happier and it's worth it. But sometimes the process of doing it, I get frustrated easily and stuff. So I don't know, like the journey to get there is worth it, but sometimes it can be stressful because with polls, sometimes they're a lot of work and you want like the least amount of work to do and manage with a pole. And that's kind of how I felt with the new Thiccly poles. I felt like they were a little bit too much work for me because poles are a lot to maintain and keep up with. So I want something that's going to be just easy and provide support, and that's it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or if you're interested in the Thiccly poles, I'll leave them down in the description. You can get them off of Amazon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you later.